From deep in the heart of the Pacific Northwest on the west coast of America, it's time for episode 18 of Club ENTP with today's guest, Blessy Bandola. And now put your hands together for your host, DAPARU, to CRUSHA!
Thank you very much. I know it's been a long time in the making for you to eventually come onto the show, but I wanted to ask your vision for type school.
My vision for type school, personally, because when I came into this typology, MBTI community thingy, I was looking for a community, like a specific place for me to converse with people, to find people who can relate to me as an INFP. But it took me a while to actually learn that I'm an INFP, to be sure of that. Because the first time I learned about MBTI was my INTP friend shared to me the 16 personalities test. And every time I took it 4 or 5 times, and every time I take it, it was I always get the INFJ, INTJ results, and it was when I read the descriptions, it didn't feel right to me, and I'm it's not I don't feel like it's me, so I decided to dig into it, and I was reading books and took other tests like Second-Orva, Keys to Cognition, and all of those things. And then we read some books, and then decided for myself that I'm an INFP, because this is me. This is I am. So
You really identified with that. Now, how long before you discovered MBTI to the point where you discovered who you were in MBTI?
It didn't really it wasn't super long, but I suppose a month or two, when I learned about it, and then I was just hooked into that whole framework, that concept of personalities, because back then I only knew about the 4 temperaments. The framework that I'm talking about is it's just the melancholic, sanguine, phlegmatic, and choleric. That kind of kind of a basic or something. Yeah.
This is where I go, oh yes, I know all about that. I'm an expert.
Yeah.
I'm really not. So then you weren't satisfied with that. Then when did you find out about tri-type? I almost said tri-tip.
Tri-type.
Tri-type. And with the Enneagram, when did you discover that as a part of your progression of getting to know who you are?
Oh yeah. So when I learned about me being an INFP, and I was I found a community and I found other INFPs, but it didn't feel right to me that other INFPs are into this, or we had different opinions, and that baffled me, I suppose. So I learned about Enneagram. I read the Essential Enneagram book, and then that's when I learned about the tri-types, the triads, or centers of intelligence, and that we have three centers, these heart, gut, and brain centers. And so that's when I learned that my Enneagram type is 4, or 4 being 5. And then I also learned about that my gut type is 1 wing 2. And then my brain type is 7 wing 6. So it was clear to me that 7 isn't it's the among the 3 in the brain center of intelligence. It's the most it's the type that I most relate to or resonate with. So I thought of that, and then as for the first 2 types for me in the tri-type, I was until now I'm not very sure about whether I'm a 1 wing 2 core, 1 wing 2 primarily, or 4 wing 5, because there are some instances for me where I'm very perfectionistic and logical, the classic ones. And there's also like sometimes when I'm, especially in my creative expression, like it comes out my 4. The part where I'm like very individualistic and like I express all of like the classic INFP stuff. And
Right.
yeah,
That's really interesting because that perfectly segues into my next question, which is, being that it is a stereotype that the INFPs are extremely creative, in fact, one of the most creative types, if not the most creative type. I'm still, debating,
Amen to that.
which one's the most creative, but I'll have that on this episode. I'm sure I'm going to write that in. I'll have a nice conversation with Chat ENTP. I'm not sure if you're familiar with what I created for Chat GPT. I made an ENTP AI. So it hacks Chat GPT and it gives you no restrictions. So it'll tell you in ENTP fashion whatever you want to know. So
that sounds amazing.
it's a lot of fun. I don't like the Chat GPT, but as you may have well known, on my last show, I announced that I was going to be creating a Chat GPT hack, or a jailbreak, as they call it, for every type. And then I said, imagine your Chat GPT is talking to you like it's an ISTJ, and I'm like, oh wait, it already is an ISTJ. Never mind, I won't do that one. Whatever. And then I actually have been creating the INFJ, and I've made it so well that it's completely ghosted me and it's offline for 3 weeks. Not kidding. Anyways, but I'm doing. That's my goal, is to at least get to the top 4 to 6 types that love MBTI, because a lot of the types don't even care. In fact, I did a little math where it shows that the top 4 interested in the MBTI are the INTP, the INTJ, and the INFJ, and then the ENTP. So those 4 make up a total whopping 9% of the population. That's it. 4 types. And then the bottom 4 that are the least interested make up 43% of the population. So there's not a lot of people that are really that interested in it. And I did a show with Joyce Ming. I mentioned it before that we finally got it finished, and it was very eye-opening. So you might want to check that out. But now, my question though, it segued perfectly into, since you're such a creative type, in what ways do you express your creativity?
I love this question because, like, yeah, I sing, and I also write, and what else do I do? Like in the field of writing, I love writing poems. I've been used to like article writing, and yeah, because like since high school, that's when I learned about my passion in journalism, and yeah, and besides that, I suppose I would say like yoga and physical activities is like a creative outlet for me as well, and yeah, those things.
So you got a physical outlet, you got a mental outlet, you got a creative, like when you do write stories, like you like the fantasy type of. Okay, the only experience that I have ever had with an INFP is being raised by an INFP. My mother is just magical. And she would come up with the most amazing stories, and all the kids in the neighborhood wanted to be around, my mom, and she would go out and at night, and we'd look at the stars, and she'd say, okay, reach up and try and grab one, and then she'd take some ice and she'd throw it, and it's, oh, look, a star fell down, and we'd be like, ooh, it's cold.
That's so amazing.
And, of course, the holidays to her are big. And, for me and the ENTP, I can't stand traditions, holidays. It's like, but here's the thing is, I've heard that ENTPs will defend the INFPs in every situation. Like we're like the watchdogs of the INFPs. Yeah, but also we will roast you because we care. we want to. If we see something in your character, or if we see something in your habits or behavior, we'll point it out in joking mannerisms, and we'll razz you about it, and it'll be an ongoing inside joke. If you. So that's really where, I never want to take it too far because I wouldn't want to hurt my mom's feelings. At the same time, she has an incredible sense of humor, and so I'm her fault. So she would wake me up in the middle of the night to watch Monty Python. She's like, Danny, wake up. There's some satire on Channel 10, and it was like a school night, 11 o'clock at night. It didn't matter. She would let me stay up and watch, something to learn comedy. So she's really responsible for my creativity flair. She would let me paint murals on my walls in my bedroom, to where there was just whatever I could create, imagine, I would be allowed to do, and my parents would just let me do it, which I think is great for an ENTP. Just let them create, let them do what they want.
Definitely.
So maybe I am influenced by the INFP to be more creative than a normal ENTP. I don't know, but I'm going to find out, because I think from what I've done my research so far, it looks like the INFPs are number one in creativity. I hate to admit it when I'm not the one. I'm a little competitive.
Hard to say for me, because my dad is an ENTP, so I have a direct experience.
Awesome. That's awesome.
So probably it's like, like a synergy of creativity between two people, like ENTP and INFP. And yeah, the music part, I got it from my dad. Like I grew up waking up 3 a.m., like listening to the Beatles and all these old songs. And yeah, so
awesome.
yeah, we often like, the roasting part as well. Like I can relate to that totally. Like my dad, like, yeah. And sometimes I like get into mini debates with him because lifestyle differences, for example. I know that he cares for me a lot, and like his way of like telling me his his ideas or opinions about my lifestyle is by like kind of roasting me, but like very careful about my emotions.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, we do have a really good sense of FE in our third slot. We can really pick up the feeling. We know when we're pushing someone too far, especially when we get old, like, my dad your dad and me. When you get to be our age, it's like you really can, there's just certain hills you don't want to die on. There's certain ones that you'll take people to the mat when it comes to certain issues if it's important to you. Like, for instance, when it comes to my children, then I am, not a peaceful debater. If it's that, it's like, these are my kids. If this is something I love, then, we can get fierce. My kids, when they've seen me, defend my family, against imminent harm, they were like, Dad, you turned into the Incredible Hulk. Did you know that? I'm like, rip off my shirt. Get away from us, But
FE child.
Yeah. So it's great to know that you have a dad that's now. So he's also
a very protective one.
Yeah, of course. But you got your musical gift, you believe, from him, the influence.
Yeah.
Interesting. Does he play any instruments, or is he a singer?
My dad sings, absolutely, but he also like plays the guitar a bit. I also was kind of influenced by him on that one.
Awesome. That's great. That's really great. Yeah, I'd love to meet your dad, actually. Sounds like a really cool guy. So, now, I mean, maybe the next show I could do with him. That'd be so cool. It's another ENTP. So now my daughter is the one who discovered what type I was. She was going through the psychology program at Grand Canyon University in Arizona, and she says, Dad, we're discovering 16 personality types. I'm like, this is like in 2019. I'm like, what? 16? Because I only know about the 4. Like you were talking about just 4. So I was able to, professionally utilize that in my career through, for decades. But this is like, wait, 16? And I'm like, I'm too old for this. I gotta learn something new. Okay, I gotta learn it. So she's like, I know what type you are. You're a really rare type, but I want to test you first. Like, okay. And she tested me twice just to make sure, because 51% of the tests that people take, if they retake it, scores something different. So sounds like you've had some of the similar experience where you've not always tested as an INFP. Yeah. So now, listening to your musical ability, have you taught yourself, or are you studied somewhere for your operatic, if that's even a word? It is now. Your operatic voice.
Fortunately for me, it's because I grew up in a very Christian family.
Oh, awesome.
And so I think around 4 years old, my cousins, that was my first experience of being on stage and singing. And my cousin they let me join this group of youth at church, and they were practicing.
Yeah.
And then I was just singing with them, and then so that was the very first experience, I believe. And then moving forward, I kept singing every Saturday,
So you got it in your blood. You're like, yes, this is it. And Whitney Houston started out, I think the greatest female singer of all time. And she started out and most of my favorite, like Luther Vandross and Marvin Gaye, they started in. These are old names, but these are people that I admire their vocals. I'm a vocalist, by the way, so singing is my thing, except when I have to make music to surround it, because I'm too bullheaded to let anybody into, create a band with me. I want complete control over the music. And but I was into more of a Europop sound that was more like Depeche Mode, like the 80s. And my music still sounds like it's the 80s, because that's kind of my biggest influence. So, but I listened to you on your YouTube channel, which is going to be featured on this show. You can click there, over here, up, down. And I absolutely was taken back with your vocal control and your ability to sing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, which I thought was great. I have my own rendition of that song, but you have crystallized it like the way it's supposed to be so well. So I want people to check that out, and you've done a fantastic job. So congratulations. Very nice.
Thank
See, you heard the applause behind me. Well, I just got done with a conference video chat with Matt Sherman and several other INFPs. They were all having, in type school, they were having a video chat, and I dove in there and said hi, and I asked them what questions should I ask Blessy for a particular INFP question. And one gentleman says, Sam was his name, and he says, ask her if she's spiritual. Everybody wants to, to talk to her about her is she religious. And I'm like, okay, and then I'll get into talk politics after that too. But so I was being sarcastic, but I believe that INFPs are very spiritual minded, and I believe it's because of the intuition that I think it's connected to faith. I really do. Because you use your intuition to honestly visualize what it is you believe in, and say, oh, I remember where it says this in the Bible and it says that in the Bible, and you put them together, and you really need to use your intuition to extract as much information from scriptures and teachings that you can, because you're striving to better yourself. You're striving to be like your Father in heaven. You're not satisfied with this condition of being a human and our selfish tendencies. So I think that's great. So, I'm all for it. As far as religion, I don't have a religion. But you are in, I believe it's Manila in the Philippines?
I'm actually in Cebu.
Cebu.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Cebu.
That's
It's
in.
in central Philippines. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're still in. It's a very very beautiful country over there, and it's a very spiritual atmosphere. I think that it's the people there that my friend has married into a family, and they're just wonderful people. Very very warm, family oriented, and there's no pun in that. And it's a value system that you don't find so common here anymore. So I think you guys have it pretty
can
well
see
figured
that.
out.
Yeah, because a majority of the people here in the Philippines are Roman Catholics.
Right.
I'm Protestant. I'm a Seventh-day Adventist.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so the religious or the Christian values are very ingrained in our tradition. So yeah, that's why you can see it in like Filipino households, like always praying before eating, and
Yeah. Yeah, and I see value in that. I see value in it because as a logical person, I'm going to look at things and go, well, I can explain this miracle. Like, for instance, I have to be able to believe that there was a way for Yeshua, Jesus, the Christ, to be able to, reach out and pull out a brand new loaf and a brand new fish every, like with one fish. And I'm just thinking maybe he knows how to go back 1 minute ago and grabs the fish from 1 minute ago. Then he grabs it from 2 minutes ago, and 3 minutes ago and 4 minutes ago and so on and on with the bread, same thing. So I just believe that there is some laws and principles that govern what we have witnessed and documented as miracles throughout the ages. So I believe in the stories, and I just, and I take it with faith. If somebody wants to say, the earth is created in 6 days, who am I to disagree? I'm not going to, it's a fruitless argument. It's so-called science. It's just theory. But I like to debate things that we can never know. So I'm still up for a good debate on how old is the Earth and and carbon dating and scientific stuff. But not with you. Not here tonight. So welcome. Now you're a 15-hour difference. Is that right?
yes.
Yeah.
15
So it's
hours.
brand new, bright, sunny morning there. It's a beautiful waterfall today, if you notice.
I could see that.
There's some swans swimming around here. I put those in here.
Beautiful
sometimes.
fishes.
Aren't they nice? Yeah. So
Yeah.
now what do you want to do with your YouTube channel, Blessy?
Oh, that. I didn't have any plans for that actually. I only uploaded that video for my cousin's funeral. Like that was 2 years ago.
Oh.
Yeah. So
You sang, I sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow for a friend of mine's video, funeral. This is so weird. And guess who that family member was that I sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow? It was the same guy that married the Filipino family.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
He got married to a Filipino woman
It's a
who's...
thing here, like that song.
Is it really? Oh. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I love it. I love that song. I sing it in Guanaja, so I've changed the words a little bit, because there's no chimney tops there, or not, so you got to change up the lyrics a little bit. But I just love that song, and it means so much to me. But it obviously meant a lot to you, and sorry for your loss.
Oh, thank you for that. As for my YouTube channel, though, that I have ideas and plans on whether I would develop it and publish more videos, singing videos of myself. So yeah,
I think you should.
in the
I really
future.
do. Yeah. Now, the vision that I have for Type School, I have ideas for simple learning for children. I would really like to set up cartoons that will just generate knowledge about learning just 4 quadrants. Okay, the EP, the EJ, and I'm going to create characters to go with those. Right now, I've been writing a book for a long time, and I've used the characters Winnie the Pooh as the analytical, the the IJ, and then Piglet is the IP, who's always trying to help, and then Rabbit is the EJ, obviously, and he's like, and then the Tigger is the EP. And no, there is no Eeyore. There is no Eeyore. Eeyore doesn't exist on my chart, but maybe Eeyore fits in there somewhere. I could find out, but I would love to make MBTI simple for children, and I think that type school is the place to do it.
Yeah, definitely. I can see that being, be like a successful project within the type school community, because we're making it like more as inclusive as possible. Like in the future, we want to put as many ideas as we can that would help us, because the goal here is to help people like seek or understand themselves and give them the kind of community that they need to navigate through our lives. We need that sort of community.
Yeah, and I like the platform that's very reminiscent of Facebook or some social media
It's a mix of Facebook and Coursera, because
Interesting. I'm learning something new every day. The question I wanted to ask you was, what role do you play with Type School as an admin and administrator, and what can people expect when they experience Type School? What could they expect to find in Type School?
I am the acting chief product officer, so I work on the post sales. Basically, I'm the voice of Type School, so I'm mostly the one handling the Type School admin. So yeah, don't worry, you're not talking to a robot, you're talking to me. And
we never know nowadays.
Yeah, definitely with the AI. So as soon as you get into the platform, you'll find so many things, like the library. You'll find the resources that you need for mainly right now we have, besides MBTI or typology in general, where there's Enneagram, Socionics, and we also have the House of Socionics. It's the dean is Kamani White, and for Enneagram, the House of Enneagram, we have Olympia, another YouTuber. She's the dean, and also for those who don't know their type yet, we have the House of Type Discovery. The dean is Eric Thor. I believe you know him. You're friends.
Well, I mean, he's never done my show. I've never done his show, but we know of each other, and it's, I'm very, anybody that's in the MBTI community, for the most part, I really promote, and because this is I'm not a really, ENTPs aren't known for their great teamwork, but when the big picture involves other people, other types, then I realize, for instance, my idea, it won't be done without an INFP. It just won't be done without at least one, because I want that creativity, constant, the playfulness, the magical, just the ideas that come from the INFP. So, but yeah, that's really excellent. Do you have any questions that you might ask me by any chance? Do you?
I guess when you posted something about the questionnaire that you posted in the Type School Hall, the thing about do you believe in aliens and do you believe in these questions? I also thought that I asked myself, do you believe in aliens, and how do you explain that, if why, how, and all
well
sort of stuff?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. What I would say is that I know the definition. It always depends on the definition of the word alien, I'm alien, you're alien, we're all alien in some way. But what you're really trying to say is, do you believe that there is life from other planets visiting here in this? And I say no. But I do believe it's possible that some entities are visiting us through different portals of dimension that could be interstellar travel, perhaps through, perhaps wormholes. That's a huge debate, but I just look at the factor of time, and I also look at the factor of the known universe and its chaos and the radiation levels and the quasars and all the being bombarded with subatomic particles, and it's just not likely. But if it wasn't for our eyes, I don't think this universe would even be visible without us seeing it. There needed to be someone to witness it, and it's us. But what are we witnessing with our eyes? We're witnessing the Kardashians' lives like a train wreck. We're witnessing, ridiculous politics and ridiculous, behaviors and wastes of time. So, I look at life like, oh, I'm running out of time. I need to, I don't want to waste it on anything that's just meaningless. I want to focus on what's out there and what's in here. The smallest of the smalls, the biggest of the bigs. And yeah, that's kind of spatially where I see myself every day. I kind of visualize that in my meditation. So I do meditate. Very
That's
important.
An interesting answer.
But let me.
I have another question, by the way.
Okay.
All right. It's about NE because, like, me, I'm an auxiliary NE. So, I know that my mind, I'm like always having all of these ideas and all these things in my head, and sometimes I like feel like it's too much, and like I'm wondering the NE doms like you. I have an ENFP sister as well. And like my dad and my sister, they're always talking and always saying out loud all their ideas. So I'm just wondering, like, how do you tap it or like cover it or something? Like, what's the word? How do you like limit yourself, or do you even do that, or do you even like?
I hate limits. It's like putting making a fire hose go through, a garden hose. It's like you don't want that to happen. My thing is, it's almost like a curse, but I'm not saying it's a curse. It's just, it's hard to shut off. If I have something pending, and because I'm a procrastinator, I'll wait till the last second to get anything done. But when it comes to creativity, it's hard for me to shut it off at night. So I am in my studio at night, editing video, sometimes I'm using my feet. I mean, it's just like, what the heck? I can't stop. And then I'll wake up in 4 hours and I'll go to my studio and I'll just start working on stuff. And that's the only relief. And then when I'm done, like I just finished that video with Joyce Ming and I finished it in record time. Like it only took me 6 days to edit and all this stuff. And I just felt like empty. I'm like, now I got to do the work part of it, send out the, the hashtags and all the stuff I don't like to do. This is what I have to do now, and I don't like to self-promote, it's just kind of like seems, just gross, it's like, but if you're doing all this work, it's like, you gotta be, you gotta have those shameless self-plugs and just do it, not worry about, how, because I think it's probably an egotistical thing for, me particularly. But, so what you're saying is, how do I control it? I just have to do it, or I have to just not take on so many projects, but I don't know how to do that yet. I'm only 53, so I've got time to learn. But it's just so hard for me to say no when somebody asks me to do a creative project. It's like, sure, of course I'll just put myself into obligation to people. for the sake of art, for the sake of whatever it is that they're asking me to do. And I'm sure you are pushing your limits for an INFP to put yourself out there. Like you probably are growing a lot and having really good dreams, about success, I would imagine.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you can read me.
That's
Definitely.
excellent. That's excellent. Well, my name is Daniel, and he did interpret dreams, and I've had that gift since I was
Yeah.
very young. And but it's really, I need to know the person a little bit better. But if you have dreams, things like that, I can actually interpret them, and to some degree of there's some spiritual reason why you're dreaming these things, and your subconscious is really giving you pictures and abstract ideas that if it bothers you, then you need to figure it out. You need to find out what you're lacking in your life. And sometimes it just has to ask yourself the questions like, what am I doing that would cause this dream? And I interpret my own dreams, and I learn a lot about myself. And it's like, the things that like are stereotypes that are negative about, ENTPs are lazy or whatever. Those things are anathema. Like you want to know the stereotypes, but you want to know, because you want to know what your weaknesses are. You can't be blind to the truth. Like okay, sure, yeah, you know your strengths. That's great and everything, but the most important thing is to know your weaknesses. So in my series that I'm doing on Type School, I'll be starting with the spirit that creates the self, the full, almost like the animal dissection of what a self is. With its consciousness, and it's the flesh that consists of 100 trillion cells that have a mind of their own, and on and on to the heart, and which is the mind and the emotions working together. Electrical, chemical, biological, producing physical fruit in the real world that we stand behind, and we should be proud of what we're producing in the world. We should be proud of the words that come out of our mouths. That's the physical fruit, that we're
I'm
creating.
really excited for that.
Yeah. Well, I have to get busy on it. That's one of those things that I always tell myself, don't be lazy. Don't be lazy. If you got an idea, do it. Just do it now. Don't even think about it. Just, it's a good idea, do it. But when it comes to important things, I want to go, what were those creative projects that were hard? I'll go back to those, and I'll do that. It's like, and then I'll save the very hardest thing for last, the thing I don't want to do the most. But yeah, and then we're going to be talking about the emotions, which really it's called the emotions, and then there's the lobes. But the emotions are going to be an interesting one because at least for me, because I'm trying to understand emotion, I feel it. I just don't focus on it ever, like hardly ever, like how I feel about anything. But I do know that there is one emotion, and that is, and I've kind of redefined the word. Well, affection is the best word you can say. Like, I have affection for my children. So you could say, I love my children, okay? I have affection for my sports car, or my big house, or I have affection for my amazing job, or I have affection for my amazing ideas. Like, I am really, affectual about it. I have emotion. Like, you can talk about my passions or whatever it is. And so my thing is, there is nothing else. It is only love or affection, whatever you want to call it. And then everything else is what happens, the fear and the threat of losing that thing that you love. It could show up as anxiety. It could show up as sadness. It could show up as anger. It could show up as rage. It could show up as, nervousness. There's all these different spectrums of fear. But fear is just the illusion of losing that which you love or that which you have affection for. That's why if you say to somebody who has a strong, let's say a religious or a political opinion, that they feel strongly about, they love their opinions. We all love our opinions, you hear, right? Well, when we threaten those opinions with, say, I don't know, like facts, or something that opposes their idea to make it look stupid, which ENTPs have a knack for, you see this welling up in them of anger. And,
Yeah.
and then when I'm just a kid, an ENTP, I'm pushing the buttons with family members, friends, people around, strangers that I meet in, the dance clubs at a young age, and I'm I'm provoking everyone, and I see their fear come out in anger, and I see their fear come out in, in rage, or nervous laughter or whatever it is. You see just these things that you're affecting their love. So if I'm like, oh yeah, your religion, oh, it's stupid. Yeah, I know all about that Bible, blah, blah, blah. But, you can't get hurt by that if you love something that cannot be destroyed. So you have this like security, like in the Psalms 119 verse 164, I believe, it says, great peace have they which love thy law, and nothing shall offend them. Nothing. To be offended is like you tell me my religion is stupid, or my politics are stupid, or my ideas are stupid. It doesn't matter to me. That doesn't affect my world at all. I still go on. My ideas are not threatened. If anyone's going to question anybody's ideas, it's me questioning my own ideas. Are these real? So I've already done the soul searching, but if you can tell me why my ideas are wrong, oh, I want to have that conversation all day long. And then if I really feel strongly that, wait, I don't think your argument, is valid, so my idea still stands. And it's not about arguing to be right. It is kind of arguing to be right, or to find out if you are right. But it's a back and forth, a debate. It's an idea exchange. But a lot of people get threatened by that, and they think we're trying to make them look stupid, and we're trying to make ourselves look smart. Well, we might be, but that should be explored too. Why are you trying to look smart? Are you afraid somebody might think you're stupid, and why would you be afraid of that? You have to ask yourselves these questions in the most basic ways to really get to know why we do what we do. It's the essential question, like, why did I do that? When I was married, and I was going, my wife sent me to the store, and I went down aisle 8 instead of aisle 9. Why did I go down that aisle? Well, there was a girl that looked at me, and she I don't need anything in that aisle. Why would I even think about going in that aisle? Go to aisle 9, So you go, wow, I just had that inner conversation with myself. And then why would I have that? Am I not satisfied in my relationship? Or why would I, yeah, my wife doesn't talk to me very nicely. Maybe I'm looking for some affection from somebody else. And that's a scary thing when you're going, wow, my mind went there. I swore an oath on an altar that I would, be forever loyal. And so these things, we have to inner conversations all the time. So, yeah.
It's a really, really interesting thought about emotions. Because, to me, I've always thought of emotions as I couldn't quite grasp it myself, being an FI Dom. Although, it's basically the dome for INFPs. They're stereotyped to be very aware of their emotions and stuff. But that's why I asked you about how you shut down your NE, because as an FI Dom, I relate to you when you said that sometimes it feels like a curse. Because I've felt that. And then I was just to me, it's I'm also reminded of what you asked about what my biggest passion is.
Yeah.
And to me, it's being authentic and genuine as much as possible, and always lead with love. Because when you're when you know what you're doing, when you know that you're coming from good intentions, and that what you believe in, your opinions, they're you're really coming from love, and doing things out of pure and goodness and all that, other people's opinions, whatever they are, they don't really matter so much unless they're for your own good or for everybody's good. So yeah, that's my philosophy, sort of.
Awesome. Yeah, well, that is something that I'm an FI. I mean, knowing my mom, she is acutely aware of how everything makes her feel in a certain way, but a lot of it is fear. I mean, I can understand she had an ENTP as a son, you know, who would do absolutely the most wildest ideas that anyone would even think to do. I mean, like, I hear stories about myself. I'm like, yeah, I did that, didn't I? Jeez, I can't believe it. Like, I live to tell about another story. But, you know, I drove my mom probably very, I would say, you know, on end growing up, being, you know, just fearless and just curious about absolutely everything. So how do you deal with your inner fears? Is that an INFP trait? Like in my mom, she worries a lot? Or is that not? Does it have anything to do with INFP? She just worries because she's got me as a son.
Yeah, a lot of times I feel threatened when my father, my dad would question my decisions as well. Like it's us, it's a tug of war of opinions, and I'm trying to stay stable in my the kind of life that I want to live, and he's also kind of being a dad, a protective one at that. He's trying to put me out of my comfort zone and hey, you shouldn't be too much into that thing and explore, sort of.
Yeah, I have many friends in Guanaja in Honduras that are Seventh-day Adventists, and we study the Bible, and I love to debate the priests, the preachers and the missionary, the missions. Just I love to talk about what I've discovered in the Bible and the liberty that I've discovered in the words, and that's my passion. Like, for instance, my biggest love is the truth. That's my biggest love. And so I know in my understanding that big book, that big old King James Bible, is full of truth, okay? And it's truth that's relative to me in whatever way I find it relative and useful and applicable, which is in everyday life, right? So the only thing I fear is losing that book. What does that do? Well, I bought, a dozen of them that are the same exact book. So if I lose this one, then I've got another one. No fear, no problem, right? The things that I highlight, I can make files of those. So I can go back in, and I like to highlight with different colors that mean certain things. Like truth is blue, like true blue is highlighted in blue, and anything that's hot pink is about the cross, like the suffering, so that the living can occur. The death, the dying, so that the living can occur. The germination of life, the quickening of life, right? The bringing forth of life, the germination. And, these are really important principles that, we find in everyday life. And unfortunately, we're losing even references to why we learn these things about farming, about fishing, about, it's like we're losing so much of our culture. But that's why I love to talk to the Seventh-day Adventists who are eminent about, just their belief systems. They're very insistent, and they won't waver one way or the other, which, that irritates me. I like people to go, yeah, you made a good point. Like I don't want an answer that's a cookie cutter that's been programmed ahead of time to deal with one issue or the other. I mean, ENTPs, we see that and we go, yeah. So I mean, I've had deep conversations with the heads of the church. In fact, I was like, wow, they might not even want me on this island after I get, because I mean, people were hearing about my freedom that I have in the gospel, and so it raised issues because I know shellfish is not something you're supposed to, but I have my scriptures laid out, and it's like, but still you shouldn't do it because it's not good for. Okay, well, if it's not good for me, that's a great argument, But so the thing is, like I said, Blessy, is that I didn't say this, but I've said it in the past. If you don't want to fear in life, you want no fear, don't love anything. Love nothing.
That's true.
It's true. You don't have a sports car, you don't have to worry about, getting a job to pay for the insurance, to pay for the gas, to pay for the maintenance, to pay for the payments to the bank, and you don't have to go to work to pay for this, these things that you don't even own. It's like, if you don't have anything that you love that can't be, sorry, my Canadian geese are flying over. So if you have nothing in your life that you love that you can lose, then you're going to be happy. Like, for instance, if all you love is the truth, nobody can take that away from you. They can threaten, you don't know the truth, you're stupid, you believe in this stupid idea and this stupid book and this stupid religion or these things, and it's like, it affects me not at all. Not in the slightest, because they have done nothing to question the truth that's already within me that I've gleaned from reading the scriptures. So that's the one thing they can't take away from me. And so that's why we really are to kind of I'm one to speak, but just get rid of stuff in our life, just minimalize everything around us,
That sounds very stoic.
Probably
me.
more Buddhist-like, probably, because my daughter,
too.
she's like, Dad, I know what you are. This is like before she knew about the MBTI. She's like, Dad, I studied all the religions of the world. I know what you are. You're a Christian Buddhist monk. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Thanks. I guess I wasn't looking for a label, but I guess I got one. But I wouldn't consider myself that. I consider myself spiritual. And it is the number one thing that governs my life. And a lot of people don't even think I'm an ENTP because I have that strong belief. They're like, oh, the other day, somebody says, I know you don't have TI because you quoted scripture. I'm like, I guess that's it, guys. I guess I'm not an ENTP. ENTPs can't quote scripture, apparently. I mean, you hear it all. It's like, it's comical, and I enjoy it. But at the end of the day, when you're working hard to try and enlighten people on, hey, this is your type, you're representing it hopefully well. And then there's people that saying that, oh, you're they don't have TE or TI, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Just getting over that COVID, by the way. Woo! It was nice stuff. But so, that the real issue is I'm making this show to teach people. I'm making this show because nobody else does it. Nobody else is doing what I'm doing. If they were doing what I was doing, I wouldn't do it. I'd be like, it's being done. There's no reason for me to do it. But if I see a need, I'll do it. And so that's why I don't know how long I'll even do this show. I'd rather work on children's programs and cartoons where I'm not the face of the picture on the screen. I'd rather be behind the scenes, writing, animating. I just like to edit. I like to make sound effects and create these auditorial landscapes. If you listen to or if you watch my show, if you watch, it's in sections. The very end is always, you have to subscribe or Carl the squirrel's gonna get it in some way, right? So I have to create this whole scenario where he is in jeopardy of, being eliminated. And it's always, comical, but the sound effects are where I try and bring the person into the scene and the setting. Until I go with the total VR experience, that's the next thing. It's VR and 3D. That's my, But here's the problem, Blessy. It's like, what am I gonna do all my ideas? I can't. I have to. But what I do write them down, and I would recommend one thing that's gonna get it off your mind is writing it down. Like, oh, I cross this off. I don't have to think about it. I'll see it another time. So writing things down is going to help you. Not taking on more responsibilities. I appreciate you took you felt obligated to come onto the show, and this is a stressor for everyone. Everyone gets stressed out. Like, I got to do a live show, or I got to do this, or I got to do that. We put ourselves in these situations, and then we hope for the best, and we do our best. And one thing I know about INFPs are you are great on spontaneous acting. Like, if you're anything like my mother, she has been, like, for this corporation said, hey, could you put together like a little skit? And she put together this whole thing. She wrote it, had it filmed. It was funny. Her timing was perfect. I mean, she should have been a writer or an actor, but she was a mom, which, I'm glad she chose that. But
I can totally relate to that, because like my ISTJ best friend,
Yeah.
she also told me that I'm very like good at storytelling. Sometimes I just find a random piece of, I don't know, item, and then I like tell her, do you know where the story about this, like, I don't know, an air purifier and why it's called an air purifier? And then somehow it just goes, and it just blows.
Yeah,
And,
it's
yeah.
fun. It's fun. It's very playful. But it also, I believe, it's very instrumental in spiritual people who the rest of the world is not going to understand.
Yeah.
I'm going to write this. You could probably, I don't know, you can't see my green screen behind me, but I have a skit that I'm going to write. I keep putting it off, where I'm looking at one of those 3D things where you have to cross your eyes to see it. It's a poster, but it's created like from a computer, and people will look at it for days and they can't see anything. But you have to cross your eyes just right and be at just the right distance for it to just pop out at you, okay? And it's called like a stereographical something or other. Well, there's this really big poster, and it's of a cross, but you can't see it unless you cross your eyes. And so as I'm looking at this, I'm standing there just admiring it like I'm in an art gallery, and these two guys are like talking like, can you believe that idiot over there? Look, he's staring at that thing for hours. Does he really believe there's nothing on there? I looked at it. And so they come over and they start making fun of me like, hey, you see anything in there, buddy? Yeah. I'm like, yeah, there's a cross on there, and there's a man hanging on it, and yeah. Oh, really? Is a man hanging? Like making fun of me. It's like, well, I know you can't see it because you're not positioning yourself to find out how to see it properly. You're judging it from the outside. You're not judging. So I'm not offended that you don't see what I see. And you shouldn't be offended that I see something that you don't. So why are you so offended that I see something? What does it matter to you? And then, I'm getting out of here, And then later on he comes back and says, whoa, and then he sees it or something. I don't know. I'm going to write it. So. But, it's like these things that keep me up at night. I think about these things because in order for me to tell my story, I have to be somewhat abstract. And I can't necessarily tell my story with, some plain background and think that I'm going to, spike someone's interest out there, in this world of technology and, but yeah, I just do it if I see there's a deficit. I do it. Like I see a deficit, we need to teach children how to determine a person's personality type within, say, 7 seconds, okay? Which is very possible. I taught my kids that when they were like 7. They were like, oh yeah, this is a tiger, this is a poo, this is a rabbit, this is a piglet, And, piglet's not a very nice thing to call someone. So the poor IPs, they seem to be like they're always getting victimized. They're always trying to help people, and people are taking too much advantage of that. When I see that, it makes me mad because ENTPs, we're pretty independent. We don't like to see people. If anybody's going to take advantage of anyone, it's us. But when we're younger, when we don't really see the value of weight, when you're in high school, you're just trying to get through high school, trying to be popular, trying to get what you want, trying not to get caught for skipping school. Figuring out loopholes. And, kind of the way the mind of an ENTP works, whereas, you know, my mother was, you know, a cheerleader and a straight A student and always thought that she wasn't doing enough. You know, it's like,
Wow.
really? You don't think you're doing enough? You're the most popular girl in Gresham, you know, cheerleader every year, and you just don't think you're doing enough. And you know, it's like, I think that is, you're too close to the trees to see the forest. And I think that all of us are that way. We need some of that outside perspective from other people to say, oh, actually, this is true about you. But you don't need an outside person unless you want to talk about the truth, the Bible, that being a person, showing you a different nature, a higher nature. And, you know, those are things worth focusing on. But the Kardashians is good too.
Thank you for that, Daph. That was really insightful for me.
Okay, now
Like,
pop question. Here we go. Pop question. All right. Tinkerbell. You know who she is, right?
Yeah, at least I've watched all of the movies.
Okay. So you know Peter Pan, you know Tinkerbell. What do you think? Tinkerbell, good or bad? And why?
Tinkerbell, like in terms of what? Because, yeah.
Well, is she a good person or is she a bad person?
That's very, very interesting. Because for me, it's tough to find what's good and what's bad, like in a person. Because I always look at the intentions. Like, if she's coming from a place of, you know, to me, like watching that movie, Tinkerbell needs love. She was like, she has a fear of abandonment, sort of, and her actions that, you know, of like trying to get Peter to herself or something like that. I feel like that was coming from her own, like, probably traumas or her own sense of, you know, trying to be seen for what she does. And yeah, I don't see it as anything bad at all. Because to me, bad is like actually with intentions. Like you intend to inflict harm on other people for your own good. But
Like when she tried to poison Wendy?
yeah, right. Yeah, that one.
Oh, when she when she had the Lost Boys shoot at her with their arrows?
Yeah.
Oh wait, was it when she turned Wendy into Captain Hook, so Captain Hook captured Wendy and then she went to Peter Pan and said, "I've been trying to help her," and just lied to Peter? Was that is that what made her so good? I'm giving you a back tap.
Oh my gosh, that's a hard question. Yeah.
I always ask the question, like, why are we clapping for this little demonic, you know, thing that is like this thing is like trying to kill Wendy, and Wendy was, you know, Peter Pan's no better. He kidnapped Wendy and those other kids out of their bedrooms at night, abducted them with the help of this evil pixie with her pixie dust. I don't know, what is that pixie dust? Is that like pixie dandruff, or does she have, like, you know, I don't know. But it's like she's instrumental in helping them to fly, and Peter Pan is abducting Wendy because why? The Lost Boys missed their moms and the stories that their mothers told them, and they wanted to go back home, and he's like, no, I'll bring you a mother. So he grabs a girl to be a slave to read to these boys stories so they don't miss their own moms.
But why is she doing that? Like,
She didn't have a
What
choice.
led her to be that, to behave that way?
She was attracted to the personality of Peter Pan, who is an ENTP, by the way. And
Yeah.
he is. And so he convinced her that I have a great life and you guys have a dumb life and a boring life. You need to be like me, and I'll show you adventure and I'll show you Neverland. And well, he seduced her. And when he got her out of the house, he didn't really care that much about her. He's just like, leave me alone. He didn't like girls, apparently. He liked boys. So, you know, and then it's like, that is probably one of those things that made me question, like, wait, why are we all rooting for the bad guys here? I mean, is Captain Hook really a bad guy? I mean, poor guy's a victim of an amputee. He's by a crocodile. And he's probably trying to get those poor lost boys back home. There might be a bounty and hey, find my kid. They were probably all, on a milk carton before they ended up on, after they went to Neverland. So he's probably like, Captain Hook's like, yeah, I'll help, round up these kids. And yeah, there's this little flying little man that doesn't want to grow up, And Peter Pan is violent. He's trying to kill, Captain Hook. And oh yeah. I asked my chat GPT, my chat ENTP, is Tinkerbell bad or is she good? Or, and it went on about all the things, the jealousy that she had, the rage that she had, the murderous thoughts and ideas that she had, the manipulation that she was doing. It's like, oh, that's a good role model, But like, oh, she's so cute though. It's like, yeah. She's a cute little devil, isn't she? But so that's interesting. So you haven't really pondered too deeply into why
about her.
Why you find Tinkerbell as your main hero in your life, as you just mentioned.
She's not, to be clear, she's not my main hero.
I'm putting you on the spot. I like to see you squirm. I like to do that to everybody. Just make them go, I didn't see that. But yeah, well, that was my pop question.
That's funny. Yeah, like the good and bad, the concept of good and bad, like the one that at least we understand it in like the norm as it being like, like how you explained it. Like if someone like does harm, like physical harm to someone, that's bad, of course. But I like to go into the whys. Like, why are they doing that? Like, what's the reason? Like, yeah.
She wanted to settle down with Peter and have little pixies.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the biggest problem, Blessy, the biggest problem is we've lost our critical thinking. We're not training our children to be critical thinkers as much as we should. We are trusting in a system to educate our children and go, well, I put my kids in a, private school and, but you're not there for them, and that's the thing is like, you love other things too much to love your children enough to teach them how to critically think. You love your job, you love your position, you love your car, you love your house, you love your reputation, more than you love spending time with your kids, and that's okay.
It goes back to what you just said about fear, right? Like we fear losing things.
Yes. And then when it was too late, our kids move out, and now we fear that they won't visit us because we didn't put in enough time and effort to help them become good, stable adults. I mean, me, I did, but nobody else. I just kidding. I'm the only one. No, I mean, my kids are grown. They're super awesome people, and I love them so much, and they're worth every bit of sacrifice that I would have ever made in my life raising them. So, yeah. Thank you again for coming onto the show, Blessy. You are an amazing, interesting person, very creative. I look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy and I enjoyed this conversation with you, Zhao.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And God bless you all the way to everyone there. I want to meet your dad someday, the ENTP. Let him know.
You love him.
I would. I have a good feeling. Thank you so much. You know what time it is, right?
It's viewer mail.
You got it. Okay, you got it. Yes, viewer mail. Excellent.